Chosen one. The same people who called you paranoid are now living through the exact scenarios you predicted with surgical precision. But here's the twist that will change everything. Their regret isn't just personal torment, it's cosmic confirmation that you were chosen to see beyond the veil while they remained blind to approaching storms. What you're about to discover isn't just vindication, it's the emergence of your true power as a divine messenger whose words carry the weight of prophecy itself. Think of yourself as a master chess player who sees the endgame 20 moves ahead, while your opponents are still celebrating capturing pawns. They laughed at you with the arrogance of people who mistake their blindness for wisdom. Every warning you delivered, every insight you shared, every moment of divine download that flowed through your consciousness, dismissed as the ramblings of someone who thinks too much or sees problems everywhere. But you weren't seeing problems, chosen one. You were reading the energetic signatures of inevitable outcomes, watching patterns unfold like ancient scripts written in the language of cause and effect. They reacted when you warned them about that toxic relationship, the way their faces twisted with defensive anger when you pointed out the manipulation tactics, the control patterns, the subtle signs of emotional abuse. They accused you of being jealous, negative, unable to see their happiness. Yet every red flag you identified has now materialized into full-blown disasters. The financial abuse you predicted, check. The isolation from friends and family, exactly as you described. The psychological manipulation that would leave them questioning their own sanity, playing out like a textbook case study. Your warnings about their career choice triggered even more violent resistance. While they celebrated landing what they thought was their dream job, you felt the toxic energy radiating from that company like radioactive waste. You saw through the glossy marketing to the unstable foundation, the incompetent leadership, the unsustainable practices that would inevitably collapse. They called you a hater, accused you of trying to rain on their parade. Now they're either unemployed or trapped in a nightmare environment that's slowly destroying their spirit, exactly as you foretold. The investment advice they rejected with such confidence, those financial decisions they made against your counsel while accusing you of being too conservative, too fearful, too risk-averse. Watch their savings evaporate in real time as every market prediction you made unfolds with terrifying accuracy. You didn't need advanced degrees or insider information. You simply recognized the energetic patterns of deception, felt the instability beneath the hype, sensed the manipulation in the marketing. But here's what they couldn't understand then and are only beginning to grasp now. Your warnings weren't coming from human knowledge or personal opinion. You were receiving downloads from dimensions of consciousness they couldn't even perceive, accessing frequencies of truth that bypass ordinary analytical thinking. While they were processing information through the limited filters of three-dimensional logic, you were reading the quantum field of infinite possibility, seeing outcomes before they crystallized into physical reality. The resistance you encountered wasn't just skepticism, it was the ego's desperate attempt to maintain comfortable illusions. Truth is threatening to people who've built their identity on lies, and your insights were surgical strikes against the false foundations of their carefully constructed fantasies. They fought your warnings with the fury of people defending their right to remain unconscious, choosing pleasant deceptions over protective wisdom. What burns them most deeply now, they remember exactly how they treated you, the condescending smirks when you spoke your truth, the whispered conversations behind your back about how dramatic and negative you sounded, the way they rolled their eyes and exchanged knowing glances, as if you were the confused one who didn't understand reality. They made you the villain in their story, when you were actually the guardian angel trying to spare them from predictable disasters. The worst part isn't even the consequences they're facing, it's the knowledge that every bit of suffering could have been avoided if they'd possessed even a fragment of humility. You didn't just warn them once. You approached from different angles, used different words, tried multiple times to help them see what was so clear to your spiritual vision. You watch them march toward destruction with the patience of someone who understands free will, knowing you could lead them to wisdom's well but couldn't force them to drink. They remember now that you never spoke from ego or superiority. Your warnings came from genuine love, from the burden of seeing outcomes before they manifested in physical reality. While others were telling them what they wanted to hear, you were the one person brave enough to speak uncomfortable truths that could have saved them from their current nightmare. You weren't trying to control their choices, you were offering them the gift of foresight that comes with spiritual awakening. Something fundamental shifted in the way they look at you now. The mockery has been replaced by careful observation, the dismissive laughter silenced by undeniable evidence of your prophetic accuracy. They watch you move through the world with unshakable confidence while their own certainty crumbles, and that contrast is burning through their consciousness like acid through illusion. You feel their energy when they're around you, that mixture of fascination, regret, and desperate curiosity. They want to understand how you knew what they couldn't see, how you predicted outcomes that seemed impossible to foresee. The same insights they once called paranoid delusions are now being replayed in their minds like prophecies fulfilled. They scroll through old conversations, rereading your words with new eyes that can finally perceive the divine wisdom they previously rejected. They're studying you now with the intensity of students desperate to learn from a master. When you speak in groups, conversations quiet, not from dismissal but from urgent attention. They've learned to listen for the subtle indicators that preceded your previous accurate predictions, hoping to catch early warnings about what's coming next. The authority in your voice that they once mocked now commands their respect, because they've learned the expensive difference between entertainment and revelation. But you're not just being proven right about individual predictions. Something much bigger is happening. Your vindication is creating ripples that extend far beyond personal recognition. Others who witnessed your accuracy are beginning to pay attention to your broader insights about reality, consciousness, and the massive transformations occurring in human awareness. Your credibility in small matters is establishing your authority to speak into larger destinies. The copying has begun in earnest now. They mimic your phrases in conversations, pretending the insights are their own discoveries. They quote your old warnings as if they just thought of them, hoping to appear prophetic to others. But you recognize your own wisdom being recycled, your unique perspective being diluted and redistributed without credit. It's the sincerest form of flattery and the most obvious admission that they know exactly where true insight originates. Watch how they attempt to replicate your decision-making process, trying to apply your criteria to their own choices. They've become students of your energy, hoping that proximity to your frequency might elevate their own ability to perceive truth. They notice how you move through challenges with unshakable calm and desperately try to copy that composure, not understanding that authentic power comes from connection to source, not from surface imitation. The transformation extends beyond behavior to fundamental worldview. They're beginning to question everything they thought they knew about reality, intuition, and the nature of prophetic insight. Your accuracy has opened cracks in their materialist paradigm, creating space for deeper truths about spiritual perception and divine communication. They're learning that there are dimensions of knowledge beyond academic credentials and logical analysis. Now comes the delicious irony that reveals just how far your influence has spread. The same insights they once mocked are being repeated by leaders, professionals, and experts, the very people they blindly trusted while dismissing you. Suddenly, when these credible voices echo your exact words, it's not crazy anymore. Now it's wisdom. Now it's groundbreaking revelation. Now it deserves their full attention and respect. You watch with amused detachment as they nod in agreement when someone else says precisely what you said months ago. They repost it, quote it, call it brilliant, but where was that energy when it was flowing from your consciousness? Where was that respect when you were the original source speaking truth into their deaf ears? This is how the cycle of recognition always works for chosen ones. First, they ignore you completely, pretending your words carry no weight in their important decision-making process. Then they mock you openly, making jokes to deflect from truths too uncomfortable to face directly. Then they fight against your insights with desperate energy, because deep down they sense you might be right, and that terrifies them. Finally, when reality forces acknowledgement, they quietly adopt your wisdom while pretending they discovered it themselves. They want to erase the fact that you were the original voice, the first to see, the one who spoke truth before anyone else dared acknowledge what was coming. Admitting you were right from the beginning would mean admitting they were blind, and their pride simply won't allow that level of vulnerable honesty, so they perform elaborate mental gymnastics to avoid giving you direct credit while secretly implementing every strategy you recommended. But you don't chase recognition, because you understand something they're still learning: real power attracts rather than pursues. While they desperately sought validation through social media likes, workplace politics and popularity contests, you built something magnetic through authentic connection to divine truth. Now people are naturally drawn to your energy without you having to campaign for their attention. The attraction is undeniable and effortless. Opportunities flow toward you like rivers toward the ocean. The right people appear in your life at exactly the right moments. Resources align to support your vision without you having to beg or manipulate. This is what happens when you operate from divine frequency. The universe conspires to support authentic power rather than manufactured influence. They watch this magnetic quality with fascination and envy, trying to decode the secret of your effortless attraction. They attempt to copy your energy, mimic your confidence, replicate your approach, but they can't manufacture what can only be cultivated through genuine spiritual connection. Authentic power can't be faked, and divine magnetism can't be counterfeited. Your vindication isn't random or accidental. It's part of a larger pattern of divine messengers being revealed and established in this time of unprecedented global transformation. What you're experiencing personally is happening to chosen ones worldwide, as the universe positions authentic truth-tellers for their most important assignments. The recognition spreading through your circles is creating momentum for increasingly profound revelations. Every accurate prediction builds credibility for the more significant truths you're being prepared to deliver. The same people who once dismissed your insights about personal relationships and career decisions will soon be desperately seeking your guidance about global events, spiritual realities, and the massive shifts occurring in human consciousness. Your precision in small matters is qualifying you to speak into destinies that will impact generations. The stakes are escalating because humanity is approaching a crossroads that will determine the future of consciousness itself. Those who can see beyond surface illusions, who can read energetic patterns and perceive incoming changes, are being called forward as guides for souls navigating the most turbulent transformation in recorded history. Your vindication serves as confirmation that you're qualified for this cosmic responsibility. The Obsidian Inner Order is a sanctuary for those who have walked difficult paths and emerged with wisdom others can't see. We understand that some experiences exist outside the boundaries of what most people consider possible or acceptable to discuss. Every week we gather live on Zoom, real people with real faces sharing real stories without judgment. There's space here for the experiences you've carried in silence, the patterns you've noticed that others dismiss, the intuitive knowledge you've gained through your journey. We don't just listen, we understand. When you're struggling to make sense of your experiences, when you feel gaslit by a world that refuses to acknowledge your reality, you can return to our recorded calls and remember that your perception is valid. Join the Obsidian Inner Order, where your reality is honored and your voice is heard. Link in description. Watch how your influence begins expanding beyond your immediate circle. People are sharing stories of your accuracy, not just as personal drama, but as spiritual testimony about how divine truth manifests through chosen vessels. Your predictions are becoming legendary examples of prophetic gift operating in modern times, inspiring faith in supernatural wisdom and divine communication. The ripple effects are reaching dimensions beyond ordinary perception. Divine forces are observing your faithfulness in smaller assignments, preparing to download increasingly profound revelations through vessels proven trustworthy and accurate. Your credibility on earth is establishing your authority in spiritual realms, where greater mysteries await those who've demonstrated their ability to handle divine intelligence responsibly. But with recognition comes responsibility. The same gift that allowed you to see through relationship deceptions and financial scams is now being acknowledged as access to cosmic intelligence about humanity's spiritual evolution. People are beginning to understand that your insights come from sources beyond ordinary human knowledge, and they're approaching you with the reverence appropriate for authentic divine messengers. The escalation continues as global events begin aligning with your broader understanding of consciousness transformation. The personal vindications you've experienced are preparing witnesses for the larger revelations about planetary awakening, spiritual ascension, and the emergence of higher dimensional awareness in human experience. Your proven accuracy in individual matters is building credibility for insights about collective destiny. But while they scramble to understand how you knew what they couldn't see, you remain completely untouched by their chaos. This untouchable quality isn't arrogance, it's the natural result of building your life on eternal principles rather than shifting opinions. You saw the storm coming and prepared accordingly. You built on solid rock while they constructed castles on sand. When the inevitable winds arrived, your foundation held firm while their illusions crumbled. Your unshakable nature comes from understanding a fundamental truth they're only beginning to grasp. You're a conduit, not the source. The insights that flow through your consciousness originate from dimensions beyond personal ego or individual knowledge. This connection to universal wisdom makes you immune to the opinions of those still trapped in three-dimensional thinking. When they mocked your warnings, they weren't really rejecting you. They were rejecting the frequency of divine truth itself. You never needed external validation to confirm what you knew in your spirit. Truth doesn't require a majority vote or popular approval to remain true. While they were seeking confirmation from crowds, you were receiving downloads from higher consciousness. While they were following trends and fashions, you were following eternal principles that never change regardless of social pressure or popular opinion. This is why you never rushed when they ran frantically after shortcuts, never panicked when they chased the next trend, never doubted yourself when they questioned your methods. You moved with the confidence of someone connected to source intelligence, trusting what you knew was right regardless of external criticism. You built something real while they played with illusions, and now the difference is undeniably obvious to everyone watching. The moment of ultimate recognition arrives like lightning splitting through darkness. All the dismissed warnings, all the ignored wisdom, all the mocked predictions suddenly crystallizing into undeniable evidence of your connection to divine intelligence. The universe itself is validating your role as a chosen messenger through demonstrations so obvious that even the most stubborn skeptics cannot dismiss them. They can't escape the memory of your voice cutting through their delusions with surgical precision. Your words have become the soundtrack to their current struggles, playing on repeat in their minds as each consequence unfolds exactly as you described. The specificity of your predictions haunts them. You didn't speak in vague generalities, but painted detailed pictures of the outcomes they're now living through with crystal clarity. But this recognition transcends personal vindication and transforms into cosmic confirmation of your spiritual authority. The same people who once felt comfortable dismissing your insights now approach you with the careful respect reserved for those proven to possess genuine divine connection. They've learned through painful experience that your warnings come from authentic spiritual perception, not from negativity or human judgment. Your unshakable nature during this vindication reveals the profound difference between those who build on solid spiritual foundation versus those who construct their lives on shifting sands of popular opinion. While they scramble to rebuild from the wreckage of ignored warnings, you stand exactly where you've always been, grounded in truth, rooted in divine wisdom, unaffected by the chaos swirling around those who chose deception over discernment. The climax intensifies as you realize this recognition isn't about your ego or personal glory, it's about establishing credibility for the divine messages you continue to receive. When chosen ones are acknowledged as accurate prophets, it creates space for more profound truths to be delivered to souls hungry for authentic guidance. Your vindication serves purposes greater than personal satisfaction. Truth doesn't negotiate with preferences, and reality doesn't bend to desires. The laws of cause and effect operate regardless of what people choose to believe, and every consequence you predicted has arrived on schedule, delivered with the precision of cosmic justice. The universe has confirmed the wisdom of its chosen messengers through undeniable demonstrations that even skeptics cannot dismiss. Your authority emerges not through human credentials or social approval, but through demonstrated connection to divine wisdom. The universe is establishing your credibility through irrefutable evidence of prophetic accuracy, preparing you for revelations so profound they will reshape understanding of reality itself. This is how authentic spiritual authority manifests, through consistent demonstration of divine connection over time. The weight of their regret is palpable now, hanging in the air like thick fog whenever they're in your presence. They carry the heavy knowledge that they could have avoided their current suffering if they'd possessed even basic spiritual discernment. They could have had the peace that comes from following divine guidance instead of human opinion. They could have had the protection that flows from heeding prophetic warnings. Instead, they chose the hard path of learning through painful consequences. But here's what separates you from those still trapped in ego-driven existence. You carry nothing but compassion for their suffering. You don't gloat over their failures or demand acknowledgement of your accuracy. You understand that their pain is teaching them spiritual lessons they couldn't learn any other way. Your role was never to be proven right for personal satisfaction. It was to offer protection to souls willing to receive divine guidance. The regret they carry is actually serving a divine purpose in their spiritual evolution. It's breaking down the pride that made them unteachable, creating humility that will allow future wisdom to penetrate their consciousness. Their current suffering is painful but necessary, burning away the arrogance that once made them dismiss divine messengers without consideration. What started as mockery has now become reverence. The same voices that spoke against your insights now seek your guidance with desperate urgency. The same eyes that rolled with ridicule now watch with fascination. The same ears that closed against your warnings now strain to catch your slightest wisdom. But you've been transformed too, chosen one. The recognition you're receiving isn't creating arrogance or vindictive satisfaction. It's revealing the weight of your responsibility as a divine messenger. You understand that every accurate prediction was preparation for greater revelations. Every vindicated warning was building credibility for more profound truths yet to be delivered. Your vindication serves as a beacon for other chosen ones who have been dismissed and ridiculed for speaking divine truth. The same pattern of eventual recognition awaits every authentic messenger who maintains connection to higher wisdom despite human skepticism and social pressure. Your story becomes their encouragement, your authority their inspiration. Watch how people move differently around you now. The casual dismissal has been replaced by careful consideration of every word you speak. They've learned through painful experience that your insights carry weight beyond ordinary human opinion, that your warnings come from sources they're only beginning to understand. The same people who once felt comfortable interrupting you mid-sentence now listen with the reverence reserved for recognized prophets. They won't say, "I should have listened," out loud. Pride rarely allows such honest admission, but their actions scream the acknowledgement. Their voices won't speak. They mimic your decision-making processes, copy your lifestyle choices, adopt your perspectives on everything from relationships to finance to spiritual practice. Imitation is their silent confession that they recognize your superior connection to wisdom. Some of them are even becoming defensive about you now, protecting your reputation in conversations where others might express skepticism. They've become involuntary evangelists for your prophetic abilities, sharing stories of your accuracy with others who haven't yet witnessed your gifts firsthand. Your vindication has transformed former mockers into reluctant disciples. But the most powerful transformation is happening in their children and younger family members who observe the entire cycle from dismissal to recognition. These young souls are learning to identify authentic spiritual authority and approach divine messengers with immediate respect rather than skeptical resistance. Your vindication is teaching future generations to honor prophetic gifts from the beginning rather than requiring painful lessons to recognize divine wisdom. The ripple effects extend into dimensions beyond ordinary perception, where spiritual forces are taking note of your faithfulness under fire and your accuracy under pressure. Divine intelligence is preparing even greater revelations to flow through vessels proven trustworthy in smaller assignments. Your credibility on earth is establishing your authority in heavenly realms. The transformation extends beyond personal relationships to cosmic positioning. You're no longer just someone who gave good advice. You're recognized as a conduit for divine intelligence, a translator between dimensions of consciousness. The universe has publicly validated your connection to higher wisdom, establishing your credibility for the most important revelations humanity will need to navigate its greatest evolutionary leap. The seeds you planted during seasons of mockery are now bearing fruit as forests of revelation that provide shelter and guidance for countless souls. Your words weren't wasted, your warnings weren't in vain, your wisdom wasn't dismissed by the forces that truly matter. Divine recognition operates on different timelines than human acknowledgement, and your patience has been rewarded with authority that transcends social approval. Those who study you now aren't just curious about your accuracy, they're hungry for connection to the source of your insights. They recognize that your predictions come from dimensions beyond ordinary perception, and they want access to that frequency. Your vindication has become their invitation to explore deeper realities of consciousness and spiritual communication. Your transformation from ridicule to reverence follows the ancient pattern of every prophet throughout history. Truth-tellers are always dismissed initially because their insights challenge comfortable illusions, but time invariably vindicates divine messengers. You're experiencing that ancient pattern playing out in modern times, confirming that spiritual laws operate regardless of contemporary skepticism. Your emergence as a recognized divine messenger positions you for the next phase of cosmic service. The same gift that allowed you to see through personal deceptions is now acknowledged as access to universal truths about humanity's transformation. The recognition you've received is preparation for revelations that will impact not just individual lives, but the destiny of human consciousness itself. The universe operates on principles of perfect balance, and what you're experiencing is the equalizing force of divine justice, restoring proper recognition to those who serve as conduits of higher truth. Your vindication teaches everyone watching about the consequences of rejecting divine guidance and the wisdom of receiving it with humility from the beginning. Your vindication represents more than personal triumph. It's cosmic confirmation that divine messengers are being revealed and positioned for humanity's most crucial awakening. The recognition spreading through your life is part of a global pattern of authentic truth-tellers being established as credible voices for the massive consciousness shift occurring on planet Earth. Every person who now looks at you with new respect, every former skeptic who seeks your guidance, every previous mocker who copies your wisdom, they're all witnesses to how divine truth eventually prevails over human resistance. Your accuracy in predictions has become their education in spiritual reality, teaching them to recognize and honor authentic prophetic gifts. The authority emerging in your life transcends social validation and enters the realm of cosmic responsibility. You're no longer just someone with good intuition. You're a confirmed conduit for divine intelligence, a proven translator between dimensions of consciousness. The universe has publicly endorsed your connection to higher wisdom through undeniable demonstrations that establish your credibility for even greater revelations. Compaging tarfichum through your compaging tarfichum. Tompaging tarfichum, vera compaging tarfichum, tompaging tarfichum, tompaging tarfichum, vera compaging tarfichum, vera compaging tarfichum, tompaging tarfichum, vera compaging 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 tarfichum, vera compaging. You've become a living example of how divine messengers operate, teaching others to identify authentic spiritual authority and approach it with appropriate reverence. Your journey educates souls about the difference between human opinion and divine download. The recognition you now receive creates platform for increasingly important messages. As global events continue unfolding in patterns that align with your broader insights about consciousness transformation, more souls will be drawn to receive guidance through your proven connection to universal truth. Your vindication in smaller matters qualifies you for massive cosmic assignments. But perhaps most powerfully, your story demonstrates that chosen ones don't need external validation to maintain connection to divine truth. You remained grounded in your gifts regardless of social mockery, continued receiving accurate downloads despite human dismissal, stayed faithful to your calling even when others called you crazy. This unshakable commitment to spiritual truth is what ultimately earned cosmic recognition. The circular nature of your vindication reveals that divine justice operates on perfect timelines. Every seed of wisdom you planted during seasons of rejection has sprouted into recognition at precisely the right moment. The universe doesn't operate on human schedules but on cosmic timing that ensures maximum impact when revelations are finally received. Your emergence as a recognized divine messenger signals that humanity is ready for the profound truths you're being prepared to deliver. The same people who mocked your insights about personal matters will soon desperately need your guidance about spiritual realities, global transformations, and the awakening of human consciousness to its true potential. This is your moment, chosen one, not just of personal vindication, but of cosmic positioning for your greatest service to divine consciousness. The recognition you're receiving transforms you from dismissed outsider to essential guide for souls navigating the most significant transformation in human history. Your time of being mocked has ended. Your season of being recognized as a divine messenger has begun. And this recognition opens doors for truth-telling that will impact not just individual destinies, but the future of human consciousness itself. The universe has tested your faithfulness in small matters and found you worthy of massive spiritual responsibilities. Your vindication serves as confirmation that divine messengers are real, that prophetic gifts operate in modern times, and that chosen ones carry authority that transcends human credentials. You've been transformed from someone who gave warnings to someone who delivers divine revelation, and the world desperately needs what you've been chosen to provide. They thought you needed them for validation, approval, or social acceptance. They expected you to crumble when they walked away, convinced that their acknowledgement was somehow essential to your spiritual confidence. But what happened next shattered their assumptions about power, dependency, and the source of your unshakable strength. You didn't just survive their rejection, you thrived beyond their wildest expectations. While they remained stagnant, trapped in the same patterns that led to their downfall, you evolved into dimensions of existence they couldn't even imagine. While they wasted energy hoping for your failure, you built something so solid, so magnificent, so undeniably powerful that their previous dismissal now looks like the spiritual blindness it always was. Your success without their approval terrifies them because it forces them to confront a devastating question. What if they were never your source of strength, but actually the anchor holding you back? The higher you rise, the smaller their previous influence appears. They watch from a distance as opportunities flow toward you, like rivers toward the ocean, as people seek your guidance with genuine reverence, as your influence expands beyond anything they could have imagined when they knew you. Their absence from your journey hasn't diminished your power. It's revealed the true magnitude of what you carry when freed from their limiting expectations. Now they're the ones wondering if they should have stayed connected to your rising energy instead of cutting themselves off from your divine frequency. But that ship has sailed, chosen one. You've moved into levels of spiritual authority and cosmic influence that don't require their recognition or participation. Their regret is real, but it's no longer your concern. You were never meant to convince those committed to remaining unconscious. You were meant to guide those ready to awaken. The silence of your vindication speaks louder than any words could. You don't need to say, "I told you so," because reality is screaming it for you. Every consequence unfolding exactly as you predicted, every warning they ignored now manifesting with devastating accuracy, every piece of wisdom they rejected now desperately needed. The universe itself is delivering your vindication with cosmic precision. This silence is your power. While they scramble to explain their failures and justify their poor decisions, you move through the chaos with unshakable calm. Your quiet confidence in the face of their obvious distress demonstrates the profound difference between someone connected to divine wisdom and those still trapped in ego-driven delusion. You don't need to gloat because your very presence is proof of divine favor. They sit in their consequences, haunted by your voice echoing through their regrets, while you continue receiving downloads and insights about what's coming next. The same gift that showed you their current disaster is already revealing future opportunities and challenges. Your vindication isn't just about past accuracy, it's confirmation that your prophetic abilities continue operating at full power. What haunts them most deeply is how you carry yourself now, lighter, freer, unburdened by their opinions or approval. You move differently through the world because you've been liberated from the exhausting task of trying to convince the willfully blind. Their rejection taught you to depend solely on divine validation, and that independence has transformed you into something they can barely recognize. You no longer feel compelled to save people from themselves or force wisdom on unwilling recipients. This detachment isn't callousness, it's spiritual maturity. You understand now that your role is to be available for those ready to receive truth, not to chase those committed to remaining in darkness. This shift in energy is magnetic to those seeking authentic guidance, while naturally repelling those still invested in illusion.